Welcome to Fly on the Wall podcast. I'm your host, Chris Sonksen, CEO and founder of Church Boom. Here you get to sit in on a live coaching session as I coach pastors through the ministry challenges we all face. If you find this podcast helpful, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. We're about to enter into a conversation that I think you're going to love with Pastor Brian from New Mexico. We're talking about how do you set yourself apart as a church. I mean, there's a lot of churches in town, but what makes you unique? We call it the USP, the Ultimate Strategic Position. You're going to love this conversation. It's absolutely a fabulous conversation that I believe will help you so much. Hey, before we jump into it, check out churchboom.org. If you're a church under 100, hit the tab that says cohorts, and you can sign up for free coaching for churches under 100. And also free resources that go with it and a free retreat that goes with it for churches under 100. We have a whole team dedicated to help churches under 100 get over 100. So make sure to check that out. Let's jump into the conversation. And I think you're really going to love this one. Well, let's jump into it, man. Well, what's on your mind and how can I help you today, Brian?
Okay, so bringing in this next gen pastor, one of the questions I have is, we're in a city that it's very unusual. We're about 87,000, and there is not another church in town that has that next gen guy. We're blowing and going. What would you say that I need to make sure to best utilize my next gen pastor coming on?
Well, I think anytime you bring a staff member on, Brian, I think one of the things is I feel that lead pastors often make a false assumption that they know exactly what the expectations are, what the focus is, where that person needs to be spending their time and their energy, what's urgent, what's not urgent, what's important, what's not important. I think we often miss that. The fact that you don't have another person in the city like that, I think it's important for you to figure out, like, one, expectations, but two, especially when you're dealing with next gen type stuff. Here's one thing I think that everybody misses sometimes is creating what's called a USP, Ultimate Strategic Position. Like, how amazing would it be is if anybody in that city thought about teenagers or children, they thought about you. Not just because your Sunday morning was better, not just because your youth night was better on Wednesday night or whatever night it is, but because, man, when you think of families, when you think of children, when you think of youth, that's the church to go to, because on Tuesday night they do this, and they've got parenting classes twice a year, and they've got, like, if I had a next gen guy in an area that didn't have next gen at all, I would dominate by figuring out, how do we not just put on a great youth service and a great Sunday morning, because every church in your whole city has those, whether they're great or not. They've got youth ministry and they got children's stuff going on. But how can you be like the one in that city? It's like when anybody thinks about children or youth, they think about you guys. From we do music classes for kids. We interact with the school. We coach the teachers on how to better lead their kids. We have parenting classes that we do twice a year for 4 nights. You know, like, I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. But the point is like, if I had a guy that was doing it, one, I would be very clear on the expectations. I don't think we do a very good job of that. But secondly, I would start thinking about, like, especially if it's the only one in the whole city, I would start thinking about, like, how do we dominate in this area? I mean, really dominate in the area. Not just put on a good youth service, put on a good children's ministry on Sunday morning. Everybody expects that. But how do you dominate where it's like, man, again, anybody thinks of children or youth, they think of you. I think that's a powerful thing to think about.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So going into this next season, we're trying to focus on doubling the church. We're being very focused. We're being very intentional with life groups, everything we're doing. What are some things that you would say, because we're at that 500 mark? I've just changed the roles of leadership to where we have 4 people at the table, and it's not this larger group. And so they're going to be overseeing our different teams. What would you say in this next season, if you're going to double, man, this is how you're going to do it? and not waste
Yeah.
time on, not burn my energy places that coming out of that under 500, you got to stop doing this, or you know what I'm saying, to where you're not trying to use the same methods that got you there.
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind, Brian, is you need to separate lead goals from lag goals. Those are different. Lead goals is the ultimate result you're going for. Lead goals is the activity, the things that are going to be necessary for you to get the lag goal, which is your attendance. So, what I mean by that is if we do all this, and if we do this, and I'll talk about that in a minute, that's our lead goal. That's the things we have to do. That's the activity we have to do. Then we'll get the lag goal, which is the result. So if it's almost like losing weight. Well, I got to work out, I got to exercise, I got to eat right. That's the lead goal. That's what you got to do every day. The lag goal is you start losing weight and get in shape. That it's funny that we think it's the lead goal. The result is actually the lag goal. It's what comes up behind when you're doing everything else. So think about that in a fitness, exercise, eating right, working out, whatever. Okay, that's what I got to do. That's my lead goal. My goal is exercise every day. My goal is to eat right every day. That's a lead goal. The lag goal is I'm going to get in shape. Now, let's move that over to the church world. I think it would be great for you to get specific, okay? If churches grow 2 people for every 1 new person that gets involved, okay, that's activity is versus results. Like, how many first-time guests do we need to average? And then how are we going to get there? And then if we really want to grow by that many, then that means we got to get, on average, probably 200 to 250 more people involved in ministry as time moves on over the next year or 2, whenever you want to double this thing. Okay, those are all lead goals. Like, okay, let's focus on how many people want to get in small groups, how many people want to get involved in serving, how many first-time guests do we want to average per month. That's the focus. That's your diet, exercise, working out. Then what will come up behind it will be the attendance goal. Everybody always puts the attendance goal out in front. I wouldn't put the attendance goal out in front. Okay. You put the lead goal is the activity that will get you the attendance, which is your lag goal. And here's why. Because you can measure and somewhat control these lead goals. Okay, it's like, okay, we're going to try to get 30 new people in ministry every month. That's a wild goal, 20 or whatever it is you want to do. 15, 20, whatever. Okay, you can control that to some degree. Like, we got our next steps. We got pizza with the pastor. What if each one of us recruit 2 every month? Like, okay, that would get us there. Like, you could break it down to be like, if we do these 4 things, we could hit that. If we do these 4 things in the invite culture, we might be able to hit that. If we could do this in the small groups, we could hit that. Now, what's going to come behind that? Doubling the attendance. But you don't lead with that. You lead with the activity that gets you the result.
Gotcha. Okay. And when you talk about the activity that gets you the results, when you are trying to get people into these leading small groups and things like that, what have you found to be some of the best to make them stick, to make them successful, to get them to sign up? And what does that look like for you or for us? What would that look like for us to make sure that they know where to go? They when they're trying to sign up for things, they're not like confused, or how can we make that real clear?
Well, and are you talking about, because I heard you at the beginning talk about leaders and people leading things. Is that where you're primarily talking about, people leading these things?
Yes, sir.
Right. And identifying the problem, is that where you feel like people join up and then they bail out or something like that? Is that kind of what happens, or what do you think the challenge is?
Yeah, one of the things we've had in the past was they would start to lead a group, and then next thing you know, they had 2 or 3 they missed, or they didn't keep it consistent, or they just sort of or the group wasn't. I mean, you did the training, but their group just isn't retaining people.
Right. Okay. Well, I talked about this on a podcast a while back. The place I always look to is leadership. I think, doing the whole John Maxwell thing, everything rises and falls on leadership. And I think it's an old statement, about 30 years old, and still true. I don't think it's ever going to not be true. So when I think about leaders of small groups, and maybe they didn't go that well, or maybe they quit a little too early, or maybe they, whatever, I don't know, they just start getting flaky or whatever it is. I always look to the leader, the main leader, because is that person creating a team of small group leaders, or are they creating a tribe? It's very different. When you're creating a team, it's like, all right, we do a once a year training. I'll send out an email once a month, and that's it. Or whatever it is. We'll do a training. I send a tribe is, well, we get together once a quarter at Bob's house, and we all have a pool party in the back. We hire an ice cream truck, and it sits out front, and all the kids get ice cream. And now all of a sudden, I'm a small group leader that feels like I'm part of a tribe. I'm a small group leader that feels like I'm part of something big. Like, I don't want to let this team down. This is my team. This is my tribe. I think that we develop teams, but we don't develop tribes.
Okay.
Tribes are very different. Very different. It takes intentionality. So whenever there's a struggle of like, we can't keep people in the usher team, or we can't keep people as small group leaders, or we can't, I always go to, okay, first question number one, are you creating a team or are you creating a tribe? Because if you're creating a tribe, people stick. You're creating a team, you have a lot harder time of people sticking.
Okay, that's good.
And so create a tribe. And if you're going to create a tribe with the main leaders, Brian, you got to get specific. You have to get really specific on what you want them to do. So let's say I was the small group leader, okay, and you're looking at me going, Chris, just create a tribe. Well, my definition of tribe, your definition of tribe are totally different. Make sure you guys get together and connect. Okay, we will at Christmas. Whatever. But if you say to me 3 times a year, like March, July, and October, or whatever, I don't know, have a pool party or have something with all the leaders, have one with all the kids that can come over and one that's just for the adults, and build relationships, have a pool party, have a barbecue, have a bunko night, have a game night, but do something that builds a tribe. And now you get more specific. Now I know what the bar is, but what you're doing is you're giving me the recipe for and the instructions for being a tribe, and all I have to do is follow it. But if you just leave it to build a tribe and leave it at that, they will not build what you want. In absence of clarity, people arrive to their own conclusion. They definitely will arrive to the wrong one of what you know a tribe to be. But if they build a tribe, people don't leave as quick when they're belong to a tribe. They just don't. But they probably don't feel like they're part of a tribe. They probably feel like they're just part of a team.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense.
So
I like that.
Those are the things that I would think about.
So again, all my questions have to do with this season we're coming into.
Yep.
Breaking this 500, moving beyond that, getting stronger. What are some warnings that you would give me?
As you grow, you're talking about
Yes,
trying
sir.
to get to that. Okay, yeah. Probably the biggest warning. Well, there's a couple of them, but the first one that comes to mind is the slowness of pastors when things are growing. So, hey, we went from 500 to 1,000. Okay, that's okay. And I always say that churches grow by, my coach tells me all the time too, churches grow by nature and by structure. Nature is how it feels, structure is how it functions. When you go from 500 to 1,000, the church will feel different, guaranteed. More services. I don't see Tom anymore. I don't see Linda anymore. I don't see Lisa anymore. I don't see Justin anymore. We're not the same church. It's growing. It changes, bad or good. The feeling has changed. You can't add campuses and add services and the feeling not change. But what happens is when the church grows, you don't have to, if it changes by nature, meaning that it grew bigger, you don't have to worry about it feeling different. It's going to feel different with or without your permission. Behind it is, okay, that's nature, now structure. That's how it functions. Where I think that we miss it is how you operate at 500 is not the way that you operate at 1,000. You just operate differently. You have different kind of meetings. You meet with bigger donors. You personally, you're involved with certain meetings and not other ones. Some people are not involved in that one anymore. Accountability changes. Lines of authority change. You can't, it's like the example I always give is you and I own 2 McDonald's. Together, we're partners, we're business owners, whatever. We own 2 McDonald's. Pretty much the problem. I'll go to one, you go to the other. Then all of a sudden, our buddy Joe is retiring and he wants to sell his 20 McDonald's to us. We figure out how to get the loan. We do whatever. We buy 20 McDonald's. Now we got 22 McDonald's. However, we were operating it with 2. There's no chance that's going to work anymore at 22. There's just no way. It's impossible. Yeah. Everything's got to change. You got to get regional leaders. You got to get regional people for every 5 McDonald's. You manage these 5. You manage everything. You're sitting in these top 4 meet with me and you meet and us 4. We meet once a month together. We don't meet with the manager of the store anymore. We meet with the managers that oversee the manager. Like everything changes. Move that into the church. If you go from 500 to 1,000, it's like going from 2 McDonald's to 22. It's like you can't run it the same way. It's impossible. And so I think that a lot of leaders move slow on that. And they keep operating it the same, and you cannot operate it the same.
Okay. What about budgeting at this level? How does that need to change? Like for departments, making,
Yeah. Well, a couple things. One, if you are changing in departments, make sure that you're setting financial objectives for every department based on whatever goal you've helped or someone's helped them to set. Don't just arbitrarily give them money. If a guy says, look, man, I got 80 in my youth group, I'm going to get this thing to 150. Here's how I'm going to do it. And that takes an extra $8,000 for the year into his budget. Now you can decide whether you want to do that or not. But the point is, you can now look at it and go, oh, wow, okay, let's do that based on that. So that I think is one thing. I think there are times where you're going to learn where the percentages are going to get a little weird on staff salaries because you're staffing for the future. Sometimes I've watched percentages go up and they make me a little nervous, but I know that who I'm hiring, I believe that with 1 year, that percentage will go down. If the income goes up, the percentage drops. So you take what's called a calculated risk. And you believe that within a year, 18 months at the most, it's going to be a little tough. We're probably not going to be able to, we're probably going to just break even, hopefully, but it'll go right back up, and then we'll get right back down to that percentage going to salaries. But you have to calculate that. That's a calculated risk. So you're kind of staffing for the future, and that's okay to do. You just can't live there forever. So those are 2 things I think about staffing for the future, when that's necessary, how that's necessary. I think about staff goals versus their budget. They have to intertwine together. And if you go to 1,000, one thing I always say, Brian, is the top 3 or so people that are closest to you, not your wife and kids, but the top 3 people closest to you in the ministry, in the church, and your executive team, they will determine how far and fast you go. So making sure that level up here is being taken care of. That might be change a little of your budget, a little bit of more money has to go there, but you've got to get people that are functioning at a higher level. On a scale from 1 to 10, and what do numbers mean? Let's say you were a 7 on a scale from 1 to 10 as a leader, and the 3 people around you are 3s or 4s. Well, you're no longer a 7 because corporately you're a 5. Now, you're a 7, but the corporate punch, the corporate energy at that top level is not a 7.
Yeah.
It's a 5 or a 4 because you take the corporate average. And so as you move up, the people you put into the really high-level positions is incredibly crucial. They can't be just good guys that you like.
Yeah.
They can't just be guys that hustle. It's just like that dude flat out knows how to build teams, develop leaders, and if that guy was in charge of, I don't know, whatever. If he was in charge of some fast food place that had 2 locations, give him 5 years, there'll be 14 locations. That's just who he is. He knows how to make stuff happen, and he knows how to get the right people involved. You need those kind of people around you because the gap between you and the rest of the team cannot be big, especially you and the top 2 or 3 people. It can't be this big. You should always be out in front, but it got to be more like this, not like this.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's extremely crucial. I'll meet guys sometimes, bro, that they'll tell me about their vision. Hey, we're launching a leadership academy. We'd like to have 200 students. We're 2 sites. We want to go to 4. We're 1,000. We want to go to 2,000. Whatever they tell me, and whatever it is. And I look at their top team, and in my head, I have to politely tell them one-on-one, I don't see that happening. I don't think you have the right people in place. I don't think you have the right level of team. Now, I'm not saying that for you. I'm telling you, I see guys all the time.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is because that's how much emphasis I put on who's living at the top with you. It's I don't want to say it's the only thing, but it's a big thing.
Okay.
So anyway.
So another part of that dynamic is, how do you get what do you do with one that's lagging on your team that's at your table? That you have, like I have this executive table, and if you've got one lagging, how do you bring him up to the speed of everybody else? How do you address that?
That's a tough one. I would say let's back up even more. There may be, and I don't know the person, I don't know the situation, I don't know anything about it, but there may be something to learn there. And we'll get to how to resolve it in a minute, but there may be something to learn there in that lesson being, did I invite them to the table too quick? Did they not really have a place at the table? I think that we put people at the table based on title rather than on skill. Hey, he's an associate pastor. I mean, he's got to be at the table. Like, well, what does he bring to the table? Maybe he doesn't. So it's a lesson moving forward that getting people to the table is nowhere near as hard as removing them from the table. So you want to make sure that you really bring the right people to the table. That's an important thing. Now, with the current situation, if and I'm not saying you haven't, if you haven't had that conversation with them, it's got to be a strong one. Like, look, man, I'm going to put you on a career development path. Over the next 6 months, 9 months, you're going to get coaching every month. You're going to read these 6 books. You need to catch up. I do think some people think being that blunt, I didn't say be rude and mean, but being that straightforward is unkind. And I think to be unclear is unkind. Meaning, would he rather you give him a warning and say, look, I got to see changes in the next 9 months, or in 9 months walk in and say, you're not on the table no more? I think he'd rather you be blunt here than removed from the table over here.
Yeah, have a clarifying conversation versus a corrective, maybe early, things like that. Yeah,
100%. Have that conversation. Say, I want you to grow, and I'm going to put you on a path. I had to do this with a guy a while back, where I said, okay, I'm gonna get you a personal coach. I'm not going to be him. I'll pay for it. I want these 6 books read. I'm going to send you these 2 conferences, and this is an online thing. I want you to grow. I want you to develop, and I want to be specific. This is how I want you to grow. How you think, how you strategize, how you, whatever, fill in the blank. I'm going to really focus on these things. I want you at the table, but I can't have you at the table because of title. I need you to grow, and you need to play a serious catch up quick. So the most important thing, again, is it's not about the title. It's about the skill. Skill is the thing that gets people to the table. And you just need to always remember that moving forward. So handle the situation with that guy, of course, have the honest conversation, but move forward. It's like, I can't just have people there for title. They got to be there because they bring value and skill to the table. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good stuff. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, dude, hey man, time's up. I gotta jump on another podcast today, but thanks for stopping by, man, and hanging out with us, Brian. I really do appreciate it. Love what you're doing in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and man, you keep up the amazing work.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you so much.
All right, buddy. Have a good day, man. We'll talk to you later.
You too. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Brian, and want to remind you again to check out churchboom.org. And if you're a church under 100, click the tab on churchboom.org. Click the tab that says cohorts. It's in there, and it's all for churches under 100. We have a whole team dedicated to help churches under 100 get over 100. We will coach you, send you on a retreat. You don't pay for anything. We just want to help you grow as a church. So make sure that you check that out, and we will see you next time on the Fly on the Wall podcast.